Off. We are in the semi-final. This is Nexus versus Tagada. It's going to be best out of 3. First map is Syrtis Major. The winner here will gain, I believe, $125 minimum out of the prize pool, and the loser will take third place, going for 75 bucks. So there is money on the line here. Both of them are taking Seraphim. You want to intro the map a little bit, man? Syrtis is one that I have difficulty with.
It's a red map with a lot of reclaim.
Yes, it is. I'll pull up the heat map for everybody. There's your reclaim.
Expansions are relatively safe, so it really depends. You either rate really quick or go for the long game. Also, the Quantum Gateway in the middle, a lot of mass.
This is what I usually struggle with, because I know typically you're going to move your ACU down towards your, or up, depending on which side you're on. I'm going to talk from Tagada's perspective. So Tagada would typically move his ACU down. Most of the time you see the ACU edge building factories over to the right, which doesn't appear to be happening, at least not in the early portion now. So you get a little bit of build power up to go raid up into the north expansion, and then you move your ACU south to counter the same from the other player. So where I usually get lost is I end up getting raided into oblivion because I'm not fast enough with my responses and don't have a good enough build order, so I should probably be paying more attention to that. And then in the games where I have succeeded in stopping the raids and gotten everything under control, I don't get the Quantum Gateway reclaim, which in some cases can be game deciding, because it's what, like 1,800 mass, something like that?
At 18, I think a lot more. It's well, no, it's a lot more. I do know that it can't be 1,800, but it's very important. You cannot lose that.
Yeah.
You'll be behind a lot.
I think I have only ever won maybe 1 or 2 games on Syrtis Major and Ladder, and both of them were because of severe rank discrepancies, not any skill on my part. Oh, Tagada just lost his scout to the flak in the middle.
That is beautiful. Okay, wow.
Forgot that there was a flat cannon in there. Oh dear. So hopefully I can learn something from these guys, because I definitely need a leg up on my Syrtis play.
Because basically what you do, you send one raid to the left, and then queue all your tanks to the right. So you don't you want to try and keep that expansion. You want to try and keep raids out of that expansion pretty quickly, and they can't really raid you on the left. That is very hard or pretty much impossible unless they have sheer numbers.
That is something that I failed at then, because I usually send about half and half, which would explain a lot.
Yeah, in the beginning, there's only one choke point, or one bit of access to all your expansions. So if you try and lock that down quickly, then you'll just have your expansions without having to worry about anything.
Tagada's getting his factories up, but it's a little bit later than his opponent. We've got... Oh, but he went for an extra air factory. That's why. It's double air at the start to get a leg up on air production.
Yeah. So we'll see how to play out. He's pausing his air factory, so...
I was about to say, he doesn't have the power for it. There's no way.
I think that was the right building, yeah. Especially with all the reclaim here. And the amount of production you're going to have to get on pretty quickly.
We do have tanks moving in on the southern expansion. Nexus is actually devoting more units than Tagada is able to. I think that double air hurt him quite a bit, and he's not building enough additional power. I think he's slipped up in his build to a certain degree. I'm going to go over to let's go over to the cheat menu here. Tagada, how are you overflowing 129 power? What? Okay, so he's not really using his reclaim. He doesn't have engineers out reclaiming a bunch of rocks. He's not getting T2 mexes. He just turned on his additional air factory, so now stalling for 100 power. That's... I think he just got confused on his early build or something. Something didn't go right, and he has had a very bad start.
Yeah, Nexus has a very... way more dominant early start. He already has his expansion, basically.
Mhm.
Tagada is now moving in, but he won't get it because there's a lot of things from Nexus. So he will be quite delayed.
Nexus is running 12 additional mass, 80 additional power, has far more units. Let me see. 24 tanks, 8 scouts, 5 interceptors versus Tagada's 12 tanks, 8 interceptors. So despite having an extra air factory, they have even numbers of air. Tagada is now mass stalling heavily, and Nexus of Reality is perfectly within his bounds on production. It's actually really neat to see somebody with a build order this honed.
A early second air on a map with a lot of reclaim is not really recommended because it's gonna draw a lot of power.
Yeah. What is it? 4 T1 power generators to get the air factory running? Yeah, minus 73 power with the adjacency. Tagada already questioning whether or not to control K. This is exactly what my last Cyrodiil felt like. My build order blew up in my face this badly, and it was basically just like waiting to die.
It is already over.
He's lost his expansion completely. Even his closer expansion got denied. His ACU is moving up to the middle, so he may get the Quantum Gateway reclaim, seeing as there's not an ACU to counter him. I'm not sure what Nexus was thinking on that one.
Well, normally you go where Nexus is going, you build a PD, secure that, and then walk to the middle.
Which he's doing now, so that is exactly what's up. Okay, so a PD right here, that does seem pretty helpful. Just mind where you put the PD, because it would be relatively easy, I think, to put the PD where it can't shoot over that hill right there. So, try not to do that. Same thing on this side. Got to be careful where you build the thing. Alright, Tagada in, getting the reclaim, hammering down the Quantum Gateway, and walking in maybe a little too close to the oncoming units. If he is able to get his power under control, he's got a third air factory up, and he's going T2 air. He's putting all his faith in this.
He cannot use his mass for anything other than that T2 air factory. It just draws so much power, especially with the T1 factories running.
You are right, it's about 2,500 mass. The problem is that all the artillery shells in the air immediately knock it down to about 1,800. That is what I was thinking before, because in a previous game I had control shifted right as the wreck came online, I thought, and it said about 1,800. So I think it's just the damage that's being done as those already come in. Well, the good thing about it is Tagada, at a minimum, can at least reclaim the Quantum Gateway and overflow the mass so Nexus can't have it. So I think that's about as much as you could ask for in a situation like that. He is going to have to get the hell out of Dodge because there's a lot of T1 units coming.
Yeah, I think his best bet right now, and what he's going to do, is T2 air snipe.
Yeah, either gunships or I think Nothas would probably be too easy to dodge. If we take a look out, I think I'm going to queue up. Let's see. Let's see how much air they have. Tagada is on 17 inties with a bomber in the air with 50 T1 units. Nexus has 62 T1 units and 17 interceptors. So Tagada is actually starting to pull ahead on air. This part of his plan may work.
He's going for a T2 transport. No, that's a T1 transport.
Why?
Oh, is he gonna drop the?
He might be dropping his expansions to try to get engineers out there more quickly.
Still tanks. There are still tanks in the expansion.
Yeah, that's true.
Now he's building gunships, so he is gonna try and go for the snipe. Next is already pulling back, building AAs.
Got T1 scouts across the base, so he knows exactly what's going on.
Yeah, he scouted it pretty early as well.
He's also dropping a T2 land HQ as opposed to a T2 air HQ. So that's going to give him, I guarantee you, first unit out of the factory is going to be a mobile flak. All he has to do is park that next to his ACU and he's pretty much good to go.
No point in risking the ACU since he already has basically one-ish Although the
Yep.
score says otherwise, it's pretty close that way.
Oh, Tagada is about to drop a full transport of engineers into the middle of enemy tanks. Please
he
get
did
that
scout
scout
it.
across before you drop. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
He did
Pull.
scout it before, I think.
Pull it out. Nope. And he's gonna lose the transport too. Yep, there it goes.
I think we just missed him dying 2 archers in the middle.
Perhaps. Did he control K or did he actually die?
He actually died.
Okay. Well, it had to happen somehow. Maybe he just didn't move. Those games hurt to play. That is monumentally disappointing. When you get into it and you just have that feeling, yep, I screwed up early and now there's absolutely nothing I can do and I've lost.
Now I try and play a different game.
Setting aside Google Chrome and all of its vast inadequacies except in its RAM consumption, we're gonna jump back into the second round of the best 2 out of 3 for the semifinal in the Galaxy Cup. This is Nexus versus Tagada once again, Seraphim versus Seraphim again, and the map is Abhor, the spooky skeletons map. Are you gonna doot for us, Achieved, or is that below you?
I'll pass.
All right. So Tagada's dropping first land. Looks like potentially second air. I'm having trouble seeing his exact queue. Yeah, I think that's second air, third and fourth land. And then Nexus is going double land opening.
No, he's going turret air, actually. Just look at the ATAS. Estimated time.
Oh, yeah. 4 minutes versus 2.4. You're right. Well, 2 minutes and 40 seconds, which is not actually 2.4, but yes. Okay, anyway. Maths are difficult sometimes. We are looking at an abomination of a map, and there are some reclaim clumps around. Have you played on this one before? Never mind.
Have I played?
Never mind. I remember that game.
I got destroyed. No. Bad memories from this map, okay? But yeah.
One of these days you'll join me in having bad memories of every single map on the ladder. So reclaim of import. We have 2 T2 Rex in each of these pawns on the side. So that is a pretty hefty boost of about 500 mass. You've got rock clumps out everywhere with little 5 and 10 mass rocks scattered through the trees on the map, which are dead and forlorn, as is the rest of this godforsaken landscape. There is a hydro, but it is pretty far away from the base. Actually, 2 hydros, so you better be confident in your hydroless build. And then this entire map is eventually going to revolve around T1 spam, because it is deceptively larger than it first appears, and these choke points are not super valuable. You're going to get run around. So T1 spam is your friend, and hopefully you can control enough of the map to get some reclaim and hold those mass extractors. This is a 10k map, is it not?
Yeah, 10 by
Pretty
10.
sure, yeah. So about 8 kilometers separating the 2 players. Tagada has got a hell of a lot of assistance on his ACU for this power build. He is intent on getting out that factory as quickly as possible. Somehow still slower than Nexus, though, who is finishing his 3rd and moving into an additional land factory.
Might be stalling early on, I'm not sure.
I can go in and check. Nexus
I mean,
is
not now.
floating comfortably in the center, and Tagada's storage is almost full on both power and mass, though he is now draining quite a bit. Looks like 15 mass per tick for both players with around 260 power, exactly 260 power, or both as well. Dead even footing if ever there was one. Tagada has 2 extra land scouts and 1 fewer tanks, and that's just about the only difference in this entire thing.
They could actually abuse Seraphim scouts. by just parking them. They now draw 0 power, which is epic. So you could just
Oh.
park them around the map and have free radar and intel.
And also potentially block mass extractors from building, because that's endlessly hilarious and it will never not be. I don't care what you say.
I mean, it hasn't happened recently a lot, right?
I
Rarely.
had it happen in the last tournament. Someone did that during a match. I still remember how infuriating it was the first time I dealt with that in a match, because I genuinely did not know what was happening. I had no idea that it was a possibility, and there were these like 4 mass extractors towards the middle of the map that I kept queuing them, and the engineers would just sit there, and then eventually the build order would just go away. And I was like, is the game broken? Is there something wrong with my engineer? Like, what the crap is going on? But no, it's just a selling, sitting on the mass extractor, chilling out.
Can you even reclaim without selling?
I think if you attack move the engineer, sometimes it will reclaim. But
Yeah,
I don't think it's guaranteed. Okay, Nexus winning out on the left-hand side. Got a clean kill with 4 tanks alive, 2 on critical HP. So that is going to be a win on his expansion with a nice little bump in reclaim over there. And then on the right-hand side, Nexus has successfully raided Tagada's outside mass extractors. So that is a pretty hefty early win for him in map control. I don't know that he'll have the units to maintain those positions, but at least the raids have slowed things down. That's pretty much your goal in situations like this.
Yeah, just slow the other player down while he gets his own expansion way quicker. No transfers out yet, so the plateaus will be dropped pretty late.
Both players are running 6-7 land factories.
Nax is going for a transfer now, so he's going to make a play for the plateaus, and those are basically free mass extractors.
It's a mex and then additional reclaim in every single case. So there's 2 single mass extractors for each player, and then there's the double mass extractors here and here. So looks like probably 200 to 300 reclaim on each one as well. So that's not an insignificant amount of mass if you can get an engineer up there.
Yeah, and Nexus is going to do it uncontested. It hasn't been scouted either. So yeah, no problem for him.
Somebody, I think there may be some psychological issues behind the person who designed this map. Just saying. It looks like someone screaming for help and no one is listening. So
like school, man.
maybe over on the right things look a little sketchy. I think that is a bit too much of a unit group to stop, but then again there is a point defense in the rear here, so all you got to do is fall back a little ways and everything will be fine. 1 mass extractor goes down and the expansion is killed, so that's a slowdown yet again. Still just poking and a prodding. Oh, I didn't realize there's actually a plateau that loops around the back here that can dump units into the back end of your base. That is not good.
What?
Over on the far left and far right, there's like that looping, you have an entrance by the hydro, and then the exits by the hydro, and then there's that long looping plateau that goes around to the other skull.
Yes.
That could be annoying later on. Nexus is also dropping the plateaus. So there is going to be a contest for the right side, but he is getting the majority of his mass extractors uncontested.
Looks like the ACUs are ready to fight, moving to each other. Think Nexus wants to try and do as much damage as possible. Pretty sure he knows Tagada's ACUs there.
This water is plenty deep enough to stick a commander in, so bear that in mind if things do get too damaging during the match. You can just stick a commander in there, and it is... it's not perfect for torpedo bombers. You have to be directional about it, but it's definitely not going to protect your ACU completely. So it looks like Nexus is reconsidered. He's moving back over towards the center and decided to take out a chunk of units over towards the right. He is going to give up control of a mass extractor and that choke point, but I was a little worried. When he was moving over towards that ACU with all the units there, I could just see him getting swarmed and die without being able to get to the water.
No, he's just being very careful. He has radar around, and thanks to that move, he was able to sneak 4 tanks in around the back and kill 2 Nexus.
Oh, I did not even see that. That is sneaky.
Might even kill more, depends. Interesting to see is that Tagada went for T2 land pretty early on, while Nexus went for T2 Nexus. Now he has T2 land, but he's quite behind. Tagada already has a few Ilzavas on the field and could start pushing with those.
He's also about to have a T2 power generator and just finished his first T2 mass extractor. 3 T2s, almost 4 on Nexus's side. If I actually click in here, Nexus is running 4,700 reclaim, 65 steady income with 660 power, but stalling for 200 at the moment versus 47. So like a 15 mass deficit on Tagada's side, but Tagada has 1,000 extra reclaim and is doing fine and dandy on power, able to do pretty much whatever he wants. So it's an interesting... I think they're still pretty even. Nexus will eventually pull ahead with his higher steady income, but it's not as much ahead as you would think at this point in the game.
Yeah, also dropping a tank on the right with an engineer. Trying to grab those 2 maxes.
I see that. Clean kill on the NG, and he's also going to build a point defense.
Yeah, point defense is really safe, because you can just drop 1 tank and it's entirely lost already.
Yeah. That's going to give Nexus greater than 50-50 map control with the taking of that plateau. Ooh, gun upgrade going down on Tagada. That's going to give him the ability to push pretty hard, as well as getting the Ilshivas up to the front and potentially a mobile flak. That's going to make him very difficult to stop.
Nexus going for T2 instead. He could go gun afterwards. He's going gun.
So he's going to have the stronger ACU.
Yeah. With that T2 P-Gen finished, it can go quite fast. He has a lot of production in T2 as well. Close to his home base. Depends on who is pushing.
He may actually finish his gun upgrade before Tagada does, even though Tagada started ages ago. Oh no, he paused to let his power recover. Doing something about his power stall.
Yeah, at least he won't get pushed out of it, because he can just finish it quick if he wants to.
That's going to be 4 total T2 land factories on Tagada's side, all pushing Ilshivas. Going to give him a pretty hefty amount of land. Let me actually I did not take a look at the units on the field. So that's going to be 10 Ilshis, 82 tanks for Tagada. On Nexus's side, 81 tanks and 6 Ilshivas with a few extra artillery. So it is basically a dead heat in land units. These two players are just going neck and neck all the way across the board. I can't help but feel like Nexus has a little bit of an advantage here because of that steady eco that he has. But yeah, it's tight.
I was about to say the only difference would be the mass. And Nexus is actually going for nano, so he is really going for Rambo. And if he finishes that, Tagada will have to retreat.
Pretty much GG. 3 Ilshivas on the right versus 3 but scattered. That's going to be an even contest over there. And the gun upgrade is now engaged for Tagada on the front line. Funny those engineers are still assisted there. I was about to say they should be building a radar, but Tagada is building a radar just to the left of the skull with a different engineer.
Nexus finished his second T2P gen, so he can get nano pretty quick.
He's actually going for a 3rd T2 power generator as well. He may be pushing for a T2 air HQ very hard with extra air production. It's odd. Usually you don't see 3 T2 power generators with this low of a mass income. I wonder what he's thinking with that, or what he's headed for. Perhaps just abusing overcharge as hard as possible?
Very heavy air production, because air control is pretty epic. But he finishes gun nano and T2.
That is an 80 regen commander going versus a 10 regen commander with 4,000 less HP. That is just terrible. He's basically going to be able to shrug off half the damage from the enemy ACU. And Ilshiv is closing in, 2 dying to an overcharge. I think Tagada realizes how critical this is, and he is trying to move in for an easy kill on the ACU. Also see units on the left pushing, but with all the point defense in that left side expansion, there's no way that that's going to end well.
Air moving in for Tagada. Nexus does have a flag though, so he has to be careful. Nexus also has more land right now, so Tagada is running for the hills. He might survive. I'm pretty sure he will survive and get out of range, but he just donated a lot of mass.
Yes, he did. Calling out the rip on that one. Unfortunately, Nexus just too well put together for this.
Yeah, and he cannot stop that ASU unless he tries for an air snipe.
It's already got a vet, an additional 6 regen, and is almost back up to full HP. Tagada is still 2k below full health, and is going to lose more as he comes into combat. That nano is just so strong on Seraphim.
I mean, on every faction, like, you have nanos pretty good as well.
That is true.
Alright, Tagada is under heavy fire,
and control K.
I mean, he would have died anyway.
It looked so good at the beginning. Do you have anything, like any single thing that went wrong there? Or is it just a case of Nexus outplaying just by a little bit on all fronts?
I mean, the early raid on the right was pretty epic, and the drops to get his Nexus quickly.
Yeah. It's just, I think I saw this the last time I watched Nexus play in the last tournament, where Nexus didn't really do anything exceptionally flashy. He's just so solid on every front. It's very difficult to overcome him. Well, well played. That is going to be Nexus taking at a minimum 2nd place. Tagada is going to drop out. He is in 3rd, finishing for the prize of 75 bucks. That is going his way. All right, let's move on to the finals. That is going to wrap everything up for this video, guys. If you enjoyed it, feel free to drop a like and share it with someone. If you want to support the channel, catch the streams, or join the Discord, check out the links in the description. Thank you all for being at least partially insane, and I will see you in the next one.